Action games, huh? Devil May Cry, Doom, Sekiro, Ninja Gaiden. These games all have something special in common. And that's the recontextualization of combat flow. Weaving through fireballs, blasting demons with a shotgun, piecing together the perfect combo, and deftly dodging and clashing blades before going in for a killing blow. When it comes to fighting, these games do the most. So what makes it all click? Every great action game is bounced around two things: offense and defense. It's not enough that dealing damage feels good, but avoiding damage must also feel good and be engaging. Early action games didn't have much in the way of avoiding enemy attacks. You would just usually have to walk out of their range, or if you were lucky, you got a very simple blocking system. But when we graduated to the 3D era, particularly the PlayStation 2 and Xbox era, we started giving people dodges, guards that could be broken. Sometimes we'd even give them parrying, and nowadays, well, things get wild. But the flow between offense and defense needs to be at a precise balance. Look, the player has to feel like they actually need to put in effort into doing things, and, if you're too strong defensively or too strong defensively, then all of that falls apart. But when you hit this balance, you don't just get a good action game. You get what makes a good action game. You understand what I'm saying? Basically, the game has to be hard. Like, think about it like this. Do you think Dark Souls and Elden Ring would be so popular right now if they didn't force the player to engage with the game on its own level? If you could just go up to any boss and spam the R1 button with wild abandon and just win from the start of the game, the series would just be a forgotten memory. I mean, no one would delve into the customization that makes the game so remembered. You wouldn't have all this long-lasting culture if there was no friction to draw it out. The average person isn't actually super averse to difficulty. I mean, your parents could probably beat Elden Ring. What the average person really desires is to know why they lost. To do that, regardless if you're on an easy or the hardest difficulty, I'm looking at you, DMC, you must have good enemy design. Enemy design will make or break an action game. No matter the cool moves you had to fight or defend, they're only as cool as the enemies allow them to be. If the enemies are too simple, you risk making a wimpy foe. But the good thing is, if they're too complex, you can just turn them into a boss fight or a mini-boss. Simple as that. There's a reason why games like DMC5 and Final Fantasy XVI, as good as they are, get a bad rap as mash fests, and why Souls-likes as a genre popped off. The average person isn't going to use everything you give them unless you give them a reason to use it. So, when creating an action game, make sure your enemies have enough depth to make actually fighting them interesting. Set a baseline. Typically, an action game will have a few basic categorizations for an enemy. You got your ranged, melee, and your special little flowers who can just do whatever the hell they want. Each of these foes have a small moveset to go with them, though some games will opt to give their enemies quite large movesets, such as Ninja Gaiden or Metal Gear Rising.
Well, what's the point of packing a moveset like that if you aren't even gonna use it?
Let's look at 2 clips. See if you can spot the difference.
There! Right there! You see that? Despite me being in the air for so long,
when I fall down here for just a few seconds, I'm being swarmed by attacks that I gotta dodge. More than one enemy attacks me at once. Meanwhile, on the left, I can kind of meanderingly show my way through, and most of the enemies don't care. The clip on the left was on normal difficulty, and the one on the right, on the maximum difficulty possible. This discrepancy between difficulty levels makes the game entirely different depending on the mode you're on. But more importantly, there's a whole lot less interesting stuff needing to be done. Why? Because the enemies are doing less things. If enemies are too passive or too easy to stun lock, it gives ample opportunities for players to bore themselves. That's something that you never, ever want. And how does this go all the way back into difficulty? Well, if you have an enemy at their max potential on the base difficulty, using all of their tools to their greatest advantage, it really won't hurt that much. A player will see that they got hit or see that they got swarmed and come to the conclusion, I need to do things that prevent me from getting swarmed. All you as the game designer need to do from that point is to subtly push them towards using the proper tools so that the player knows and thinks that they discovered something on their own. This is intrinsically rewarding design, which enforces an irresistible positive feedback loop, one that isn't simply about winning or losing or getting a high score, but one about feeling good. Now, we're not done yet. Understanding that enemies have to be intrinsically rewarding to fight isn't just about how aggressive they are. That's merely the base level. This knowledge automatically makes bad enemy design less common. Let's look at a ranged enemy from Devil May Cry 3 and a ranged enemy from Ninja Gaiden Black. 2 excellent games with very different approaches to game design. Let's look at this encounter early on in Ninja Gaiden Black, for example. That enemy in black, as you can see, he whips out a gun when he's at long range. I use shurikens in order to interrupt him, and now that his ally is dead, he begins engaging me in close combat. Then another ally comes in to defend him, and when that ally comes in, he goes away and he fires off more shots. Then he comes back in. This is how most ranged foes in Ninja Gaiden fight. They'll back off, fire off some ranged attacks, and then they'll come back in and do some melee attacks. Or they'll just stay over there, shooting at you. And what this implements, and what this encourages, is active movement and target prioritization. I got my ass kicked here, but something that's important is if you are on the move, you won't really be getting hit by projectiles a lot. Now, let's look at Enigmas from DMC3. Holy shit, it has a super armor backdash. Yeah, you actually can't stagger these guys with normal weapons when they're backdashing. And they'll backdash a lot. Did I mention you have to hit them before being able to launch them? Not too much though, otherwise their stagger will reset and you'll shoot up looking like a dumbass. Unless you don't, and they decide to actually get launched this time. Yeah, this enemy is completely and totally inconsistent. And an inconsistent foe means you don't know why you died. Enigmas also have variable shot timing. That's right, they can charge or hold their shots for as long as they want. Sometimes they'll literally just not shoot, even though they've already charged a shot. Other times, they'll shoot right instantly. It's the most annoying thing, because it forces the player to only engage them in ways that either abuse the game's AI, or from range, spamming the same options over and over. Because if you don't, you're taking a lot of burst damage. If the player had the tools to offset the risks of getting close to an Enigma, then their design would be fine. But in Devil May Cry 3, you don't. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. How do we stop the player from boring themselves by making the game a mash fest? Well, we design enemies who are always aggressive, irrespective of difficulty setting.
And how do we make aggressive enemies not completely annoying?
Well, we design enemies with intrinsically rewarding moves and mechanics to play around, with the knowledge of the player's own moveset applied to each and every last aspect of said enemy. Internalize this, and now you're one step closer to truly understanding action games. Have a good day.